Hundreds of molten craters pockmarked the Betazoid homeworld from the Korgath bombardment. As diplomats Quasar and Zephyr looked out at their burning capital city, the war-torn planet was on the verge of collapse after a devastating conflict that had shattered their grand civilization in mere months. Quasar poured a glowing blue liquid into two crystalline glasses, hands trembling slightly as he handed one to Zephyr. "Do you know what today is?" Quasar asked, voice heavy with emotion and exhaustion. Zephyr took the glass, confusion on his youthful face. "The day of remembrance, sir, to honor those lost in the Great War against the Korgath." "Yes, but also the anniversary of the day the humans saved our species from certain annihilation," Quasar said, taking a long sip, the eerie glow illuminating his weathered features. "Humans? I thought they were a myth, a story for young Betazoids," Zephyr said, eyes wide with surprise. Quasar chuckled ruefully, shaking his head. "Oh no, they're very real, and our people owe them a debt we can never hope to repay. It was during the darkest hours, when the Korgath Empire had pushed us to the very precipice of extinction. Our once mighty fleets laid in ruins, our colonies burned. We truly believed all hope was lost." He closed his eyes, the distant memories of death and destruction flashing through his mind. The Korgath had been merciless in their assault, slaughtering millions, crushing any resistance. The Betazoid forces fought valiantly, but were outmatched at every turn by the technologically superior enemy, hell-bent on their total eradication as a species. "What happened?" Zephyr asked quietly, leaning forward. "How did we survive?" Quasar opened his eyes, a haunted look on his face. "When we had nothing left, when our extinction seemed inevitable, that's when the humans appeared with their magnificent warships. They came to our aid in our darkest hour, risking everything to save us from the Korgath when we were just strangers to them. What followed was—" His voice trailed off as he stared out at the ruins of the capital, remembering the awe-inspiring and terrible sights he had witnessed all those years ago. The sleek human vessels fearlessly charging into battle against the Korgath dreadnoughts, the blistering exchange of fire lighting up the skies, the gut-wrenching screams of the wounded and dying. And against all odds, the humans emerging victorious, saving their world from the cruel jaws of annihilation. But victory had not come without great sacrifice and loss. So many human lives had been given to spare the Betazoids from total extinction, a terrible price paid in blood by their unexpected saviors. And now, as a new existential threat loomed on the horizon, Quasar feared that once again only the legendary human warships stood between them and the savage, genocidal appetites of another implacable alien foe. The humans had saved them once, but would they return to rescue the Betazoids a second time? As the smell of smoke and distant cries of terror drifted through the window, Quasar knew time was running out to find an answer before it was too late. Zephyr could scarcely believe what he was hearing. A spatial anomaly, silver ships with advanced weaponry, but how? Who were they? Quasar set his drink down, a wistful smile playing on his lips. They were the humans, Zephyr, a species we had never encountered before, from a distant corner of the galaxy, and they had come to our aid in our darkest hour. He leaned back, the memories of that fateful day flooding his mind. The human ships tore through the Korgath fleet like a hot knife through butter. Their weapons were beyond anything we had ever seen, and their tactics were equally impressive. They moved with a fluidity and precision that left us in awe. Zephyr's eyes widened, trying to imagine the incredible sight. But why would they risk their lives for us? We were strangers to them. Quasar chuckled softly. "That's the thing about humans, Zephyr. They have a saying, 'Leave no man behind.' It doesn't just apply to their own kind. When they saw a species in need, they didn't hesitate to act." He shook his head, still marveling at the memory. The Korgath never stood a chance. Within hours their fleet was reduced to nothing more than floating debris. The humans had single-handedly turned the tide of the war. Zephyr leaned forward, his voice hushed with reverence. "What happened after the battle?" Quasar's smile faded, a shadow passing over his face. "The humans helped us rebuild, shared their technology and knowledge with us, but they made it clear that they couldn't stay. They had their own battles to fight, their own people to protect. He sighed, the weight of the years pressing down on him. We owe the humans everything, Zephyr. They saved us from extinction, gave us a second chance at life, and now, as we face this new threat, I can only hope that they will come to our aid once again. Zephyr nodded solemnly, understanding the gravity of the situation. Do you think they will return, sir? Quasar turned to look out at the burning city, the distant sounds of battle echoing in the air. I don't know, Zephyr, but I have to believe that they will. The humans have never let us down before, and in our darkest hour, that hope is all we have left. Zephyr's mouth hung open in disbelief as Quasar recounted the stunning turn of events. Wait, so these humans, they just appeared out of nowhere and wiped out the entire Korgath armada in a matter of minutes. Quasar nodded, a look of awe still evident on his face after all these years. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen, Zephyr. Their ships moved with such grace and precision, their weapons cutting through the Korgath defenses like a scalpel. We watched from our battered vessels as the battlefield lit up with explosions, the Korgath ships crumbling under the onslaught. He took another sip of his drink, his eyes distant. And then, just like that, it was over. The humans vanished back into their anomaly, leaving nothing but wreckage and the echoes of their victory behind. We thought that was the last we'd see of them. Zephyr leaned forward, hanging on every word. But it wasn't, was it? They came back. Quasar smiled, nodding. Indeed they did. Hours later, as we were still trying to make sense of what had happened, a single human ship emerged from the rift once more. It docked with our flagship, and a delegation came aboard. His eyes sparkled with the memory. I'll never forget the moment they stepped onto our bridge. Their leader, Admiral Robert Allen, stood tall and proud, his uniform crisp and his bearing confident. He had piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through you, and a presence that commanded respect. Zephyr's eyes widened. What did he say? Why had they come to our aid? Quasar leaned back in his chair, his smile widening. That's the thing about humans, Zephyr. They have a saying, leave no one behind. And it doesn't just apply to their own kind. When they saw a species in need, they didn't hesitate to act. He shook his head, still marveling at the memory. Admiral Allen told us that they had been monitoring our situation from afar, and when they saw the Korgath fleet closing in for the kill, they knew they had to intervene. They couldn't stand by and watch an entire species be wiped out. Zephyr's voice was hushed with reverence. They risked their own lives, their own ships to save us. Complete strangers. Quasar nodded solemnly. That's the kind of people they are, Zephyr. The kind who stand up for what's right no matter the cost. The kind who believe that every life, every species has value and is worth protecting. He looked out at the burning city once more, his expression turning somber. And now as we face this new threat, I can only hope that the humans will once again be there when we need them most. Because if there's one thing I know for certain, it's that we cannot face this alone. Zephyr shook his head in amazement. I still can't believe the Korgath agreed to a peace treaty after all the devastation they unleashed on our worlds. What magic did the humans work to convince them? Quasar chuckled, setting his glass down. It was no magic, Zephyr, but rather a combination of diplomacy, strategic thinking, and a deep understanding of the Korgath psyche. Admiral Allen and his team worked tirelessly to find common ground between our species and the Korgath. He leaned back in his chair, the memory playing out in his mind. The negotiations were intense, with both sides initially refusing to budge from their positions. The Korgath demanded unconditional surrender, while we insisted on justice and reparations for the atrocities they had committed. Quasar's eyes sparkled with admiration. But the humans, they were patient and persistent. They listened to both sides, finding the underlying needs and fears driving the conflict. They proposed creative solutions, compromises that allowed both the Korgath and us to maintain our dignity while working towards a mutually beneficial resolution. Zephyr leaned forward, eager to hear more. What kind of compromises? Well, Quasar continued, The humans suggested that the Korgath could provide resources and technology to help us rebuild as a form of reparations. In exchange, we would share our advanced medical knowledge with them, helping to address a chronic health crisis in their population. He smiled, shaking his head in wonder. It was a brilliant move. The Korgath saw the value in the exchange, realizing that a partnership with us could benefit their people in ways conquest never could. And for us, it was a way to rebuild our worlds while fostering a new relationship with our former enemies. Zephyr sat back, processing the incredible tale. I never thought I'd see the day when we'd be working side by side with the Korgath. It's a testament to the humans' diplomatic skills and their commitment to peace. Quasar nodded, his expression turning serious. Indeed it is, Zephyr. The humans showed us that even the most intractable conflicts can be resolved when there is a willingness to listen, compromise, and find common ground. It's a lesson we must never forget, especially now as we face new challenges and threats. Zephyr looked at Quasar, his brow furrowed with a burning question. What happened to the humans after they helped us? Why haven't we seen them since? Quasar's expression turned somber, a deep sadness etching into his weathered features. He sighed heavily, his shoulders sagging under the weight of the tragic tale. That's the heartbreaking part of the story, Zephyr. The humans, for all their advanced technology and military might, were not invincible. He paused, taking a long sip of his drink before continuing, his voice low and filled with sorrow. A few years after they saved us from the Korgath, the humans encountered a threat far greater than anything they had faced before. A species from the void between galaxies, a race of beings that consumed entire stars, leaving only darkness in their wake. Quasar closed his eyes, his voice barely above a whisper. The humans fought bravely, their ships and weapons pushed to the limit. But in the end, it wasn't enough. The void species overwhelmed them, consuming their colonies, their outposts, and finally, their homeworld itself. He opened his eyes, a single tear running down his cheek. The last we heard from Admiral Allen was a desperate plea for help, a final transmission cut short by the sounds of battle and the screams of the dying. Zephyr listened in stunned silence, his heart heavy with the weight of the revelation. Quasar continued, his voice trembling slightly. We tried to send aid, to rally the other races to the humans' defense, but by the time we arrived, it was too late. Earth was a barren, lifeless husk, its cities reduced to ash, its people scattered to the winds. He raised his glass, his hand shaking. The humans sacrificed themselves to buy the rest of the galaxy time, to give us a chance to prepare for the coming darkness. They fought to the last, knowing they were doomed, all to protect us. Zephyr bowed his head, the magnitude of the human sacrifice hitting him like a physical blow. So that's why we remember them, why we honor their memory. Quasar nodded solemnly, raising his glass in a somber toast. To the humans, the saviors of the Betazoid race and the guardians of the galaxy, may their sacrifice never be forgotten, and may we be worthy of the future they fought and died for. The two diplomats drank in silence, the weight of history and the memory of Earth's fallen heroes hanging heavily in the air between them. The distant sounds of battle echoed in the distance, a grim reminder of the new threat that loomed on the horizon. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.